Hey guys, welcome to Code. These are 11th video on this YouTube channel and these are 6th video on this ongoing series which is about TrueCaller clone. So today what we'll be doing is we'll be understanding the concept of what is MVVM. So you all must have heard this MVVM word quite often, which stands for Model View Model. So what is it? It's nothing but it's an architecture which we use to develop Android applications. So why do we need an architecture? So first of all, is it necessary to use any kind of architecture to build Android application? No, it's not. But why should we use any architecture? So if your application is like very small application, it's not going to scale or it's not going to be large, just a small application, you can do it without any architecture, without using any architecture. But if you are targeting for something big, if you are targeting for an application which needs to be which can scale over time, which can be scaled on like which can so there are multiple features that can be added to this app in future. So for those kind of application, it's very important to implement these MVVM or any type of architecture. There are multiple architectures, and since the beginning, as Android has evolved, there are multiple architectures that took place in evolving also. So let me tell you what kind of architectures there are. There are MVC, there are MVP, there are MVI, there are MVVM, and there are many of it. You can also create your own architecture if you think that helps you more or that has a greater efficiency. So let me tell you a few things. So since I guess in like 2019 or 2018, I don't know correctly, but in 2018 or 19, Google is officially using MVVM, and it also suggests every Android developer to use MVVM, and they have also developed some of its architecture components which you must have heard about, jetpack architecture components. So those architecture components, it is also there to support MVVM. So let's talk about MVVM. So what is this? What is Model View Model? So I have drawn this architecture. It doesn't look that good, but it's an architecture that you might have seen in all of online. Means you must have seen it on every other platform every other website or YouTube videos or wherever you watched MVVM thing. So there you must have seen this architecture. So first there is activity of fragment, there is Viewmodel repository. So what does it state? So activity of fragment is part of UI. So you must have heard about this UI, user interface, which user sees, which user experiences. So what is the user? So why do we need model view model, and why can't we just go and type create activities and fragment and just do the code that we used to do or without using any architecture? So it kind of helps us to separate things. Suppose, so there are three major parts in your application. There is UI, there is data, and there is logic, which is generally known as business logic. So what if you do not use any architecture, then you will be implementing all of the things in just a single class. It might be application class, it might be activity class or fragment class or service class. So to separate things, like if you are implementing let's say if you are implementing any app, like if you are implementing an app like Uber or Zomato or any e-commerce app, e-learning apps, so there will be a lot of things that will be in app, and if you write everything in a single activity class or single fragment class, then it will be about thousands of lines, like 50,000, 10,000, 20,000 of lines of code. So and it will be very, very difficult to manage it in future. So whenever you won't be easily be able to reuse classes and stuff like that. So there are a lot of this. You won't be able to scale it also. You won't be able to find the particular code. So to reduce all of that, to increase reusability, to increase readability, to increase scalability, we use architecture, and for that we'll be using Model View Model for this our app also. So our app is not that it's not as big as like there are thousands of applications out there, but what we'll be doing, why am I just telling you about this MVVM thing? Because we will be implementing this MVVM thing in these small scale projects that will help you understand the concept of MVVM. So let's get started with this video. So what is model? So model is nothing but a data. So whatever your data, your repository represents data. So data can be of two types. It can be local, it can be of remote. So if you are going for a remote data, then remote data will be like you will be calling APIs. Will be calling API and getting data from remote servers. So that will be using remote, and for that we'll be using retrofit. And there will be a web service that you will have these APIs and you will call them and get response and show the data to the user. Then there will be a local, that will be a model. So local we'll be using Android is using SQLite as in core. It's using SQLite as a database. So SQLite is a lightweight database, and so Google has released this Room library, which is a wrapper of SQLite. So that helps us to manage database efficiently, and also helps us remove boilerplate code. That's the use of Room. So we'll be using Room library, SQLite, retrofit, web service, repository. So we have understood this repository part. Then here it comes view model and activity fragment. So activity fragment of what is? So model is repository, view is activity fragment. So whatever a user will be able to see on the screen will be a part of this view. So view is nothing but activity of fragment, and there will be a view model. So view model is, so there are two view models. You create a Viewmodel class, and there is a Viewmodel component that Google has released in its architecture components. So what's the use of? So view model mostly contains business logic. Every business, any business logic code, you will not be writing any business logic in your UI or view class. In your view class, you will only be writing code related to UI logic or some UI management code. There will not be a single business logic, except it's necessary, but I don't think so. If it's necessary, then it must not be a business logic. So all the business logic code you will be writing in view model, and so that's Viewmodel class. That's the use of view model. And view will be writing every UI related class. So now, so what is a view model class and what is view model that is dependent architecture components? So what happens is, whenever you use any Android app, and if you rotate your phone, so it creates the Android app again. It creates activity again. So if you all must have heard about this activity lifecycle, that I might create another video for that, but I'm just going to explain you a bit about it. So there is this on, create, on, start, on, resume, then on, pause, on, stop, on, destroy, and it's a life cycle of an activity. So whenever you rotate your phone, it destroys the current activity and recreating the activity. Now whenever you recreate the activity, it will lose all the data that was there in that activity before. So to prevent that, we used to use this saved instance bundle and stuff like that. But now Google has released this view model class. Using this view model, you need to extend your class with view model, and using this you will be able to survive your data will get survived these configuration changes. So this is basically it is, and we'll explain it in detail in future videos. So let's talk about this view model class. So what we'll do is, so how this separation happens. So activity of fragment will have, so what we'll do is, we'll define views, then we'll bind these views with these view models. So what will happen is, so any UI triggers in UI part, if you trigger anything, like if you are editing text, if you are clicking on something, will trigger this view model. In view model will handle all the logic, business logic part on particular event happening in the UI, and then we'll, from this view model, will call appropriate APIs and stuff like that in repository, and from repository we'll get data. So now repository will means whenever we call an API, let's say, wait, suppose suppose in view model we are like calling some API call, like call details, let's say. Then we'll call this API, it will go to repository. In repository we have two types of, let's say we are we check for the like if we have any local data or not, and then if we do not have it, then we'll go for retrofit and we'll we'll go for remote data, right? So what we'll do is we'll go for remote data, and then we'll what we'll do is we'll create its return, we'll call an API and we'll get data in return type as live data. So how this live data helps us? So what live data will do is, so whenever the API response comes in this portion, it will like you must have heard about this consumer and subscriber pattern. So what we'll do is, so in view model from view model we'll be calling the API. So we'll create a variable which will be a live data variable. We'll observe all the data that is coming through it. So we'll observe the data in the UI part. Let's say in activity or fragment. So in activity or fragment, we'll observe the changes in the data. So based on these changes, we'll update those data into views. So that's how we'll be doing. So whenever live data, let's say we have call details as a mutable live data, or let's say it's a live data, like it's a live data type. Sorry, it's a live data type. So whenever data returns from it, so we'll return it in a live data form. And in UI portion, in view portion, we'll be observing the changes in this variable. So whenever the repository returns the data, we'll observe the changes and we'll update the UI. So all the UI updation stuff will be happening from will be happening on UI thread, right? And to do that, we either have to we'll have to like observe the changes in view, so that we'll be able to update the view on UI thread. So this is the abstract view of, not abstract, I think I've told kind of detail of it. So I think that's for this video. If you want it in more detail, then I would love to do that, and I might create a second part of it, but I'm not like think of it right now, but we'll do it definitely in the future. So if you think that I went wrong in any of it, or if you have any suggestion, do let me know in the comments, or you can mail me at mail2coders@gmail.com. And if you have any video request, then do let me know. And one of the things that I'll create MVVM video in Hindi also in future videos. I've planned it in future. And yeah, and once we reach 500 subscribers, we'll do a live application building. Entire application will be implementing in live. Firebase, MVVM, jetpack architecture components and stuff. So thank you guys.